What's up, guys? Doc Ito here with an Alita update. The doctor is in. Today, we are talking about 400 million and the media fallout from this amazing number. They are still fighting against the sequel. The show media is spreading articles to demean this accomplishment and to decrease the odds of a sequel, but there are some fighting for truth. We're also talking about an opportunity to vote for Alita to spread the word for this movie, and an article about Avatar 2, which is discussing the change to Disney from Fox and what that might mean for an Alita sequel. But first, reminders. Number 1, Alita Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram are still quiet ever since the Disney merger, so it's critical for us to spread the word on social media that the movie is still in theaters and tell everyone who hasn't seen it to get their butt in the theaters and see this amazing movie. Number 2, head on over to change.org, fill out the petition if you haven't. We're almost at 8,000 signatures and getting a few hundred signatures every day. Number 3, there's an IMDb poll where Alita was 11th as the favorite graphic novel hero. We've started voting for her and she's up to 3rd so far. So I expect her to be 1st by this time tomorrow. Let's make it happen. And of course, remember to like and subscribe to support the channel so that we can keep bringing you these updates and Doc Ito can keep giving out free repairs. Yesterday I talked about this Forbes article, which was demeaning Alita's $400 million performance. I am still angry about this article. They claim the movie made a little bit more than expected, even though it was almost twice as much. They use arguments that are invalid against the sequel, but anyways, I'll stop talking about it. If you want to see the full details, watch the last video. But my problem is, by setting a narrative like this, and by being one of the few articles to report on the 400 million mark, this is the narrative that the media is going to go with in the future, and I'll show you why I say that. And honestly, I don't understand why Scott Mendelson is so negative on the movie. He had a reasonable review of the movie. He actually liked it. So let me show you exactly why this Forbes article is so important. Here's an article written after that on HN Entertainment, talking about how the movie has barely crossed 400 and how sequels are unlikely, suggesting the movie may have flopped, with it earning only 84 million domestically, a number which I showed was wrong. The Forbes article has set the narrative, and this is what the narrative will be for this movie going forward for the media. Interestingly, I haven't seen anything recently from Jeremy Fuster, who was the one saying the movie was going to be a $200 million flop. And interestingly, the production budget keeps going up. You see how when it was a flop, it was as low as 150 million, but now it's a massive 200 million. All of this is used to frame the perception of how the film did. CBR had a much more fair analysis of crossing 400 million, calling it a milestone, and giving a by-the-books analysis of potential break-even between 350 and 500 million. While the analysis is shorter, it's fair and provides just the facts. Comicbook.com also reported on this, calling it an impressive milestone, mentioning things like the fans' passion and positive reviews of the movie, things that were really missing in Scott's article. Here's another article from Comic Book a couple weeks ago about how a booming box office defies the predictions, which is accurate, and Exhibitor Relations, a box office authority since 1974, had a reasoned approach asking if a sequel is enough, and that only the studio knows, and with Cameron working on Avatar, it makes it complicated. Daniel Hardy had a good reply, mentioning that Cameron's happiness is also important to the studio, and if they can provide a sequel for 130 million, this might be good enough, especially if Alita does well on streaming. And again, Exhibitor Relations felt it would be worth pursuing as long as the budget is restrained, and Disney figures out how to make money on the merchandise. So essentially, if we are able to have a strong Alita 1 streaming presence, if we are able to support the movie with Blu-ray sales and other merchandise, if the movie still has strong word of mouth, I do believe this is an accurate take, where the movie could generate enough for a sequel, especially with James Cameron's support for it. James Cameron is a fan. He bought this in 1998 because he absolutely loved Alita. And this man, Disney wants to keep happy, because if Avatar is a massive success, if the sequels make bank, I don't see how they don't give this man a sequel to Alita. And I don't see how he takes no for an answer. If he needs to, I believe he will go to another studio. And with the amount of success that was in China and overseas, you could even consider a Chinese studio financing the film. which is definitely not outside the realm of possibility. So it's critical for us to support the movie, especially with the social media down. We will not take no for an answer. We will keep fighting. Because we do not stand by in the presence of evil. In other news from earlier today, John Lando, producer on Avatar, and Jim Cameron's right-hand man on Alita, said they were sad the Murdochs chose to sell the company. But if they're going to sell the company, there's nobody better than Disney to sell it to. Interestingly, James Cameron had an unusually strong relationship with Fox, especially the Murdoch, but at Disney he's not likely to have any kind of special relationships like he enjoyed with them. Potentially not great news, because if Disney hadn't bought Fox out, honestly the prospects of an Alita sequel would have been potentially better. And here at the end of the article they talk about how there are question marks about whether Alita would get a sequel itself. But it sounds like the ball might be in Disney's court. So while we do fight for the sequel, I think it's critical to remember this. If we come off like trolls, if we fight against Disney, if we are negative, our fan base could potentially decrease the odds of a sequel happening. We have to fight for the sequel in a positive way, without belittling other movies or others, because like it or not, most likely if a sequel happens, Disney will be the one to make that decision. We brought up this Cinema Blend article last week, 6 reasons the movie deserves a sequel. And when you see articles like this, there's always another story behind them. I think there's a battle behind the scenes about whether or not the sequel might happen. That's why we're seeing some articles pro and some against. The decision hasn't been made, which means that our support is even more important while these decisions occur. So with that, let's look at the box office numbers. Yesterday, Alita made $196,000 in the US. This is only a 36% drop. Again, so far this week, the drops have been not bad at all. I believe the repeat viewings and the amount of people going to the movie over and over again are really helping to keep these numbers up. My model predicted 199,000, so this is really quite close. In China, the movie is back in the top 10, bringing in $40,000, pretty close to the $41,900 I thought. I estimate about 80,000 in the rest of the world for a total of just over 300,000 today. We are at 84,153,000 in the US, 133 million almost in China, and probably around 400.5 or 0.6 overall. We are marching on toward 401, which we should cross on Thursday. The jump from yesterday to today wasn't quite as high. However, yesterday was a great day. So the estimates are down a little, but we're still looking at 86.5 or so in the US and an overall of about 403.5, which would be great. And then we're looking, of course, at all the merchandise sales and Blu-ray sales and all that beyond. Remember to keep on fighting for the movie. Remember to like and subscribe. Vote for Alita. Check out the links at the bottom for the petition and this. And let's see how we're doing. We're number 2. So probably by the time this is up, we're going to be number 1. But let's blow everyone else out of the water. Let's get 1,000 votes for Alita. Have her number 1 by far. You guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Doc out.